I got invited to a meeting where there was a discussion about what the Carter Center would look like, and met some of his foreign policy advisors. We traveled to the Middle East 3 times, November of '83, November of '87, November of '90. Always meeting with heads of state, prime ministers, members of the PLO, and academics, doing some good sightseeing and some shopping. Something that Mrs. Carter liked to do that he did not. My wife always had a list. And over the period of time, I had a chance to talk with him over meals, sit in the back of a limousine now and then, go down the plains, talk at the Carter Center in Atlanta, a lot of hours spent. And I never, during that period of time of between '81 and '93, when I was an active fellow of the Carter Center, I didn't begin to piece together what I was learning about him and his attitude toward the state of Israel. Certainly in the early '80s, after he left the White House, he was very angry at having lost. Mrs. Carter was probably even more angry, or angrier than he was. I never understood the source of the anger. Until maybe '87 or '88, when we happened to be in a conversation. We wrote a book together in 1984-85, where I drafted 7 of the 10 chapters. He made changes and corrections. In one chapter on Israel, he kept on wanting to insist that Menachem Begin was only interested in having an Israel where Israel controlled the territories on both sides of the Jordan. I said, Mr. President, he gave that up when he gave up his leadership of the Irgun. He said, no. I want people to know that that's what he believed. But I said, it's not accurate today. He's actually left the prime ministership. Shamir is now prime minister. That's not part of his outlook. A couple weeks passed, the publisher had come to him and said that final changes were going to be made. He called me one morning and said, changes are going to be in by 4 o'clock this afternoon. If you have anything else, come up to the office. I came up to the office. I said, I still think you have to change this phrase about Menachem Begin being interested in lands east and west of the Jordan River. And I said it in a rather emphatic way. I said, Mr. President, please do me a favor and change that sentence. And he looked at me squarely in the eye with his twinkling blue eyes, and he said, Ken, I'm not going to change it. Only one of us was president. Well, I didn't know that copy editing had to do with whether you won electoral votes or not, but I guess it did. And then I began to probe a little bit further, and I realized that his animosity or his dislike for Begin was not just a disagreement they had over settlements the evening at Camp David ended. Begin had said to Carter, settlements will be suspended for the duration of negotiations on the peace treaty. And Carter understood that negotiations would be suspended for the duration of negotiations. I'll get that part in a second, don't worry about it. Carter believed that Begin made a promise he didn't keep. Now, for Carter, that promise meant, if Begin had held to it, that the area of the West Bank would have been preserved for a Palestinian state, or for the evolution of a Palestinian state. Instead, settlements began to grow like topsy, and Carter made Begin responsible for Carter's inability to push forward, or for U.S. government being able to push forward a solution to the Palestinian issue. And then, at the end of the 80s, in a conversation I had with him, he reminded me of what happened in the 1980 primaries. This may be more information than you wanted, but you asked for it. I'm not going anywhere anyway.